Welcome to another episode of Simplifying Social Media. I'm your host, Tamany, and today we are joined by Greg Gleaves, lead agent of Gleaves Home Team from Columbus, Ohio. Thank you so much for joining us, Greg.
Thank you.
We'll have you start off, just for context for our viewers. Tell us a little bit about your team size and your production.
Okay, team size, 2 people. It's primarily me plus 1 support. I'm a dad of a 2 and a 4-year-old, and so I produce about 8 million plus minus a year. It's nothing too crazy. I believe in work-life balance, and so it's me. I have the sphere of influence, the past client database, etc., and then I have help with showings, back-end paperwork, etc.
Lovely. It's always nice to have that balance. I 100% agree with that.
I'm always trying, at least.
Yeah, for sure. Aren't we all?
Yeah.
All right, so let's just jump right in. Tell me a little bit about social media and the role it plays in your business.
Okay, so it's kind of funny. I actually built my business off of social media. So before I had the Gleaves Home Team, I actually started off as the High Five agent because I was super young in the business, and this was 10 plus years ago when there were not so many young people in the business. I was trying to carve my way. So I was the fun guy, but then I decided to rebrand because now I'm a dad of a 2 and a 4-year-old. I feel like a little bit more of a standard dude. So now I've really focused. I used to do like super crazy videos and stuff like that. Now I focus on consistency. I want to have a consistent brand, a consistent image, something that if you were paying attention to my marketing, something that came across your Instagram feed or your LinkedIn that before you even see the name, you might suspect it was me. Instagram is really my main platform that I focus on. And then, of course, pushing it out to Facebook and LinkedIn from there.
Are you seeing some ROI from Instagram? Is that why you focus there? Or what's that thought process like?
Yeah, it seems like Instagram is, for me, it's the most flattering of my sphere of influence to be able to pull them in. I could tell you numbers, but I don't really know that they're as real as it seems, right? So sphere of influence guy, it's really about just not being forgotten. Columbus, seems like every year there's another 1,000 realtors servicing the area, and we have less and less homes every year, it seems too. So it's really about making sure that I'm staying in front of my past clients, my sphere of influence, so that I'm still the top person they're considering, because ultimately their cousin's getting a license tomorrow. Right. So I still want to have the opportunity to fight for that business, and the best way to do it is to stay top of mind through social media.
And you say stay in front of your SOI. What kinds of things are you posting? What kinds of things are you staying consistent with?
So I just listed, just sold. I know that sounds very generic, but it's amazing how many people don't stay consistent on it. So it's, let's say I just list a home. So it'll be a just listed post on Instagram. That's a paid advertisement that I'm really focusing to, I'm trying to put it in the parameters that fit where the house is, but I also want to make sure that it's hitting parameters that will trigger with my own sphere of influence. And then pushing out also through my Facebook page, which is really just a secondary. It's because it's one extra button push. That's how I do that. And I guess technically I'm paying for advertisement on there too. Mm-hmm. And then pushing out on LinkedIn as well. So, that's kind of the first way that I'm doing it. And then, on a just sold, today I just had 2 closings. So one literally just wrapped up. I barely made it in time for the interview because I was wrapping that up. So I posted one just sold today, and then I'll post the next one tomorrow, because one of the things I try not to do is inundate, because, there's only so much content that you have on just listed, just sold. So I try to stay, somewhat slow played, but, also honest on the timeline as well. And then every month I do statistics in some of the top neighborhoods, and Columbus is like a circle, right? Mm-hmm. So break it into quadrants. I sell primarily in the Northwest quadrant, so I tend to focus on those areas for statistics. And I'm just wrapping up a huge remodel on my house. I did a lot of the work on my own, so I promised I would stop being so lazy and I would get back to doing informational videos with some consistency too.
Cool. I feel like every time I hop on Instagram, it's like, oh, there's Greg.
Yeah. That's on my personal Instagram. I tend to post kind of like, hey, follow along on what I'm doing with my house. And that's really, it's a bit sharing. I'm a huge This Old House fan, so it's kind of my way of scratching the itch of wishing that I was on This Old House. But it's marketing for my business too. Because one of the nice things is that my clients or my potential clients know that I understand a home and know what goes into it, and also have the contacts or the knowledge necessary to get through some speed bumps on, a home, because homes aren't perfect, and, you may buy it imperfect, or, you give it a couple years, it starts to show its imperfections, and I have the experience to work through it. And so on my personal Instagram, I get to show it there too.
Yeah. Well, I think when you're posting about something that you're passionate about, like that shows, like your followers can see that and it's fun to watch versus like, oh my God, I gotta post this. I like that you're leaning into something that you have this like hobby around, and it's actually something that's part of your life. And that's really cool to watch. This is an interesting one because I know there's so much going on with like TikTok and Instagram Reels and all this stuff. So I'm curious, on your end, have you seen any shifts? Have you made any strategy changes in the past couple of months because of all the updates happening on the platforms?
I'm aware that there are a lot of changes. I hate to say this because I used to be the fun guy and looking to try to really hit the algorithm. Now I'm really just trying to hit the same sphere of influence. I don't see it as much. I am still on the precipice of deciding if I'm going to do a professional TikTok channel. Because it's a little bit more of a shotgun approach, but I see myself probably leaning toward it because, it's a highly addictive platform. They just started like people, tab. And I know my own personal instinct is I see these notifications. I'm like, okay, I got to get these out of the way. So I go there, and then I'm ultimately seeing the people that I know in there. So I think I'll probably wind up moving over to TikTok to basically make a TikTok, turn it into a reel to share on my professional social media. I have a personal TikTok that I started sharing some of my home remodel stuff on there. So that was kind of my experimentation before I actually translated it to the professional. So that's probably one of the main things I've seen is ultimately, video is the future. Actually, it's not the future, it's the present, but sometimes it feels like the future to me. So
Yeah.
I was big on video, and then I slowed down on it, and now it's time for me to really get back into it, and because that's what makes TikTok so popular, right? It's a video-based platform, so ultimately that's the way social media is going.
I heard a couple of things from you talking there that I want to highlight because I think it's important for a lot of agents who don't have all the time in the world to be making all these videos. It's like, okay, your goal on Instagram or your outlook on Instagram is not to go viral. Am I correct in saying that? Right. Your goal is to just be top of mind to your sphere of influence who is already following you.
Correct.
And you happen to get a few followers along the way, great, but you're not super worried about growing your following.
Correct.
And I think that's a really important distinction to make because I feel like a lot of agents will go on and they feel super like discouraged because they're not getting 1 million followers or whatever it is, and I think you made a really good point and you're seeing success with it, correct?
Correct. And a quick back step. So when I was doing the high five agent branding, I actually went somewhat viral with it. And I saw the benefits and, the potential pitfalls of it versus, popularity versus business. So for me now it's like, okay, I really just want to focus on this core group. It also helps me kind of keep my business in a manageable place of people that I want to work with. Yeah. However, I can't ignore the fact that by going viral, I did build a pretty good foundation to be able to dial back to being a more boring person.
But I do feel like, I just feel like there's something to be said about that. It's like you get to choose. If you're on there and you want to go famous or whatever it is, like that's great, but that takes so much work. When in reality, you could use the platform to be more of a free marketing platform, basically, for your sphere.
Right. I used to invest big dollars into my social media when I was trying to go viral. The reason actually I was talking about I need to get back into doing these informational videos is that 2 or 3 years ago, I committed to doing, low paid advertisements, but consistent once a week for a year straight informational videos. And half the time I wouldn't even pay to boost them. It was just taking advantage of top of mind marketing through social media, to your point.
Okay. And how did that work? When you were that consistent, what did you see?
So there were pluses and minuses to it. The minuses are it's hard. Trying to take something important, think of something important, take it and condense it down to 1 minute and then share it. It definitely established credibility. It's good for them to hear, provide some information, because I have a unique background where I've been a lender and I managed an office in the past, to share some perspective that maybe they don't see from every realtor that's talking. There's no doubt that there's at least, 2 or 3 deals that I got from people who may have gone with someone else for, whatever reason, because that's just part of business. You have attrition and new realtors all the time. Now, on the downside, I think that because I was trying to do such dense content in such a quick format that, and so consistently that sometimes I was missing out. So, that's something that I'm kind of reevaluating as I look to do something similar moving forward, but trying to find a way to make it a little bit light, fluffy, easy. And especially in the age of TikTok, where that the attention span is short, and like the only way that you're watching a 3-minute video is if it's some like crazy conspiracy and you're like, I have to see where this is going, even if
what's gonna happen.
I don't buy into it, but I'm dying to know what they're saying. So, but otherwise it needs to be quick, right? Yeah. And so that's what I want to focus on moving forward, because in the past I was just too dense with my content.
Well, and I think that's a really nice reflection to share, because a lot of agents get really like frustrated or discouraged. It's like, all it is trial and error, and just like trying something, being consistent with it for 3 months, 4 months, whatever it is, and then adjusting. And I think you are going to have a lot of fun with TikTok once you dive into it, because you have that experience with video marketing, it sounds like.
I appreciate it. I'm feeling the pressure already.
I'm going to be watching.
I know you will.
Okay, last question. How do you stay so consistent with your branding?
On like a very fundamental level, branding is having consistency of like, you have your logo, you have, these marketing pieces that have consistency to it. I have checklists written down that, especially like if I had a new person join the team that was, helping in that support role, there are checklists there to basically stay consistent in the way that, hey, when a property lists, we know that we have to get it out on the Instagram post. It has to be a paid advertisement. We have to go through and make sure we're following all the fair housing laws, and we have the link set there. We're sharing it as a post, we're sharing it as a story, sharing it on LinkedIn, pushing it to Facebook, we're running that advertisement. And so it's really just staying consistent, but on a foundational level. And this is something that you've really helped me with in the past couple of years, is getting everything to look consistent, to be a part of that brand. And so when it looks consistent and you post with consistency, that really helps build this extra level of trust. Also, when I'm going out to my listing presentations, it's credible. It's not me saying it and being like, well, if I think of it, I'll make sure to post it. It happened to me in the past, and so it's been something I've really built on. But now I know only do professional photos. Certain properties will have to get some type of, video treatment to it, of course, especially in certain price points. And there are kind of these certain executions that I have to go through to make sure that my marketing, my branding is staying consistent, so that, at the end of the day, $100,000 condo is not being shortchanged.
I love that. I'm a big checklist person, so I love that. But it's also a really cool way to make sure, like, as your team expands, that you're not losing those little things. And I love that you bring that up in your listing appointments. That's really cool too.
Yeah, well, you have to have something that gives you some separation. At the end of the day, the fundamentals of real estate are the fundamentals of real estate. So everybody isn't necessarily executing at that level, but everybody should be executing at that level.
For sure.
So beyond that, it's showing what you do that helps you succeed. And I'm a big believer that, using that marketing and that branding, because it ties into, I have a coming soon strategy that, is designed to be able to get more people in the home at the same time. And that starts with the social media marketing, and then ties into tracking how many showings are going through there, making sure we have a good flyer for showings, open house, etc. So it all really ties together. And that's what I use to talk about in my actual listing presentations.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Where can our viewers find you online?
So Instagram is the primary handle, Gleaves Home Team. You could go to Facebook and look up Gleaves Home Team as well. And I'll be working on TikTok. So go to my Instagram. Once I get my TikTok up and running, it won't be a secret where to find me.
All right. Thank you so much, Greg. I'm sure we will actually, you just ordered something, so we'll talk soon.
Yeah, and I'm ordering more. So heads up.
All right. Have a good day, Greg.
Thanks, Tamany.